Blimey, this is quite a steep hill.
Excuse me, local simpleton, but I see that you're commuting up and down this hill every day, and I may have a solution to your efforts. Have you ever heard of the car?
Oh, I have heard of one of those things, but the thing is they're quite expensive, and with the price of insurance and fuel these days, I don't think I could afford to keep it running, you know, me just being a dung spreader and all.
Well, have you heard of the motorcycle?
Oh yeah, I have heard of one of those things, but they're quite big and dangerous, and well, again, they're quite expensive, and well, like, it's a bit big to lug around, isn't it?
Well, have you ever heard of the bicycle?
Well, of course I have heard of the bicycle, but the thing is, it's just as much hard work as walking, and when you're going up an hill, you might as well forget about it.
So, you're saying it's a shame there's no steady in between the bicycle and the motorcycle?
Well, yeah, it is a great shame. Well, being a simpleton, I don't really think about these things.
Well, I have a solution to your problem. Excuse me. The solution to this problem of commuting for next to nothing comes from France. Now what I have here is the famous French moped or assisted bicycle, the VeloSolex. This is an incredibly simple design, and it's so easy to operate that even a simpleton could do it.
Oh, hello, I think I heard my ears burning there. Did you mention that?
Yes, Mr. Simpleton, would you like to give this bike a bit of a try?
You're not going to punch me again, are you?
No.
Do you think I can do this?
Yes, it's dead easy to use.
What do I do?
Well, hop on. No, face the other way.
Oh, right.
Okay, now all you do is we lower this lever here. Now push that in, and then start pedaling. And then as soon as you get moving, let go of that, and it will burst into life.
All right, I'll give it a go. Oh, blimey!
As I said, even a simpleton could ride it.
Later on I managed to get the Solex back from the simpleton.
Now I'm going to explain how to actually operate this bike, as before when I showed the simpleton how, it would have been hard for the audience at home to see exactly how this bike works. Now it is essentially a bicycle. It has no gears, and the gear ratio is set to about a mid-gear, so it's sort of 3 or 4. So you use it to assist the engine when you're going uphill. There's only a 49cc engine. Now all you do is you start pedaling it along, and you lower on this lever here, you pull it, and as you can see the engine lowers onto the wheel. Now you have up here, there's a small lever which is known as the decompressor. You hold that down, you start pedaling, and as soon as you get a nice speed going, sort of basically walking speed, you let go of that, and then the engine will bump start itself, just like when you bump start a car when the battery goes flat. And then after that, off you go. The engine has no gears, it's just got a top speed of about 20 miles an hour, and as I said, when you come to hills you just use the pedals to assist yourself along. Now the basic controls of this bike are very conventional. Here is your front brake, and on the other side of the handlebars is your back brake, and there's no clutch or anything like that. This here is your accelerator, which works in the same way of a modern motorcycle, or any motorcycle for that matter. As you saw earlier, here's the lever which lowers it onto the engine or takes it off. Your cylinder is here, where your piston is. Your fuel tank is here, it takes a 2-stroke mixture. On the other side, this part here is the cooling fan, and also the flywheel where you get the electricity for the ignition and the lights. We have the exhaust pipe down here. This is the exhaust silencer.
Oh, it's very interesting, that does.
We're not in this shop. And then basically the other end of the bike is just a normal bicycle. We have our pedals here, our chain, our rear wheel drum. It's a bit more powerful than conventional bicycle brakes. You have a sprung saddle for comfort, a nice bay here to put your whatever, your box, your basket, and then you've got your rear light. And there's no brake light on this because of its age.
And now to tell you about some technical information and history about this bike. So the VeloSolex, we know it's a moped or assisted bicycle, and it is originally produced in France by the French manufacturer Solex, based in Paris. The company Solex was better known for making centrifugal radiators, carburetors and micrometers. This was before branching into assisted motors and bicycles. The moped was incredibly successful, selling more than 7 million units worldwide before ceasing production in France in 1988. Production of the VeloSolex restarted both in China and Hungary after 1988. The production ceased in Hungary in 2002, but the VeloSolex is now manufactured back in France, where it belongs. The Solex design was made during World War II, but it wasn't marketed until 1946. As I said, with 7 million of them being sold between 46 and 1988. But this wasn't just in France, this was internationally. Having been marketed in some 70 countries, it was perfect for pizza delivery, local commuting, just wonderful design. Now, as I said, the Solex was produced in China and Hungary. This lasted for almost 2 decades, but in 2005, the design came back to France. However, the modern French Solex is not the same as the old one, as it now has an electric engine. If you'll be looking to getting a modern one, but you don't want an electric engine, you'll have to turn your eye to America, where they're still producing them with the 2-stroke engine. However, buying a brand new one isn't necessarily the way forward. The one I have here is actually one from 1966, and it works beautifully. It's a bit tatty around the edges, but it doesn't matter. You can pick these up on the internet, say eBay, for about £100 to £500, depending on what condition they're in. Also, if you pick one up that's made before 1972, you don't have to pay any road tax on it whatsoever. You still have to get it taxed, but there's no tax to pay. Insurance is going to be incredibly low whether you're on a CBT or a full bike license, and of course, doing nearly 100 miles to the gallon, fuel really isn't that much of an issue. You could say it's cheaper than walking. I really do think that the VeloSolex has got a market nowadays. It's just absolutely beautifully practical. As I've been saying the whole time, this is an incredibly easy bike to ride, and also it's very, very comfortable, particularly around urban areas on smooth roads. It's ideal for just commuting around town. And bearing in mind, because it's basically a bicycle, you can always just chain it up to a bicycle rack when you go into a city centre or something. You don't have to pay for parking or anything like that. Apologies about that. But proving my point is we even got the cameraman Alex to have a ride on it. And now there are 2 things about Alex. One, he hates being on camera. The other, he doesn't really like riding motorbikes. Not only have I got Alex on the Solex, I've got him on film. A rare occasion. He's probably not coming back. Luckily Alex did come back, and he had a wonderful time on the Solex. All I can say is don't knock the Solex till you've tried it.